What's up, guys? Iceman here. Welcome to the Diablo 4 Research Institution. So basically, Rax here is interviewing some Blizzard employee or something, some Diablo 4 developer, and we're going to see some of the questions that he asked him and hear some of the questions that he asked him, because I think that some of these are quite impactful. And I know that a lot of you guys are kind of mixed on your opinion of this whole expansion thing, and I know I certainly am as well. My last video was quite negative, but the point remains, just like how I made like 3, 4, 5 videos just going on and blabbling about how I want to take the spiritual journey with Season 5. And I am going to purchase the expansion. I just haven't done it yet. I don't really feel like I need to give them my money just right now. You know what I mean? I'm going to wait until it's more fitting to give them the money and buy the damn expansion. I have a Diablo 4 channel, so obviously I'm going to buy the damn expansion. And I came back to this channel because I actually enjoyed Season 4. I thought it was a great time, a lot of good changes. So as far as I see it, Season 5 is going to be everything Season 4 was and more, which of course is a good thing. And the expansion is going to be everything Season 4 was and more, or everything Season 5 was for that matter, and more. So I'm looking forward to it, but let me know in the comments, what are your thoughts on those matters? But here I think is a big question, yes. I don't know what it is, but let's give it a listen.
All right. This is a big one.
Here we go.
This is going to make a lot of people mad if we get the wrong answer here.
Oh God,
this
here
one
we go.
This one matters.
Okay.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me stretch a second. Let's go.
I'm only going to say one word. I'm not even going to describe it, and then
Okay.
and then I'll let you take it.
Okay.
Armory.
I said it just a second ago too, didn't I?
Yeah. This one better be favorable.
You know,
Right, because Armor right now has a cap of like 9,200 or something. So you just have to hit the cap and then you're good and you don't have to worry about it anymore. So I guess it is a pretty good question. It's kind of one of those things where it's kind of pointless. Like, you just get it out of the way and then you don't have to worry about it anymore. Like, why the hell is it even there, you know? So I suppose that is a pretty good question. Let's see what this guy has to say. He probably wasn't ready for that, is kind of what it seems.
Messages me on this all the time.
Okay. And what does Rod say?
When are we going to get an armory?
Okay. That's good news.
Oh, an armory. Did I miss the intent of that question? An armory, of course, is what you get in Diablo 3, where it's like the loadouts. And I kind of had mixed feelings on this. I hate to say it. Iceboy had some feels about this thing. On one hand, if you have the armory, it's going to incentivize us to just always have the most optimal build no matter what we're doing. So it's just going to kind of turn into an obligation, like, oh, I'm going to be doing Helltides, let me quickly go to the armory and get this build, or I'm going to go fight a boss, let me go get this build, or I'm going to do PvP, let me go get this build. It kind of defeats what they were talking about before, where they're trying to get you to solidify a build, and the more time you put into it, the more hardened that build becomes and like expensive it is to change it, you know what I mean? Or to at least turn the direction of it. So the armory kind of changes their whole philosophy that they've had initially with Diablo 4. But I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Do you want an armory? I'm kind of mixed on the whole thing because it is convenient and it does let us try out a lot more builds at once is kind of what's cool about it. But on the other hand, it takes away from the whole I've molded this character and this is the path I've taken, and it kind of forces you to pursue that, like what you get in Diablo 2, for example. Of course, you can respec in Diablo 2, but it takes some work. You got to find the things that are work like an rune of peace or something, or a pull rune of peace. You got to put that shit together and respec. But let's see what he has to say.
That's probably the best news we heard all day.
We all know the value of it, right?
Okay.
Again, going back to the when and where, we got a lot of things that are kind of pushing through the pipe right now. So I can't tell you like the timing, but I can tell you very much that we hear you. People on the team want to see it happen. There's a lot of things that we just did with itemization. We're about ready to release an expansion that has other
no answer
pieces
for the
that
armory.
are going to fit into that. So
That's fine.
I would say sit tight. It's top of mind.
That's fine. I mean, they
Okay,
got
I
a
mean,
lot of things
that
that they're added, you know? I mean, yeah, I was kind of harsh yesterday, all right? I'm not going to lie. But, I mean, I'm going to go into this blind so that I can see. You remember that whole thing? Like, I think that's part of what has to be conjured up here, you know? Negativity is just so addictive or something like that. I don't know. Maybe I've been a bit too negative lately. So it's the weekend. Not that it matters to me. I'm a hustler. I don't got to go to work or anything like ever. But I mean, I'm just saying, it's the weekend, and let's embrace some positivity. Let's embrace some goodness. You know what I'm saying? Let's start taking the spiritual journey now. Yeah, in real life, and so it translates into Diablo. All right. I mean, maybe this will be a good time. Like, they got the jungle and shit. They got all this lush plantation ecosystem, or what do you call it? Foliage, how you say? They have this lush foliage and shit. I always liked the jungle. You know, in Diablo 2, I was really excited, in fact, to enter the jungle. But of course, in Diablo 2, I hated it eventually, Act 3, because it just all looks the same. But this, I think they can, because of its modern times now, you know what I mean? They just have a lot more tools at their disposal, where they don't just have to keep copying and pasting like the backgrounds and stuff. I think this jungle might have more variety. It might have like heights and lows and depths and portals and shit. You know, Diablo 3's jungle kind of lacked that. It just felt so flat in the same. And then you had just a couple dungeons and that was it. But let's see what else they have to say.
That was a very favorable response.
It's a favorable response.
If Rod is begging for it, then that means...
It is not confirmed. Rod needs to sit tight. You know, Rod doesn't get everything that Rod wants. I'm joking, Rod. Whatever you want.
Well, he bet. I hope he gets that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so what about some old favorites from previous games? Some of them I know why they aren't currently in the game. Others I don't know why they're in the game.
This is good. Good video.
One thing that I think Diablo 3 did that made things fun is you guys had all these different kinds of goblins, especially now as the game gets a little bit more complex.
Yeah.
All we have are the vanilla goblins. That's one.
Mm-hmm. Gem goblin, gold goblin,
Sets
materials
are
goblin.
A very controversial topic.
Yep. Yeah.
Some people love them. Some people hate them.
We're divided on the team level too on that. Yeah.
That's a tough one. And then RuneWords has had a very... What happened?
Who just
this dog.
Is this a cat?
This Rex guy, he has some good questions, you know. He's really getting down to the nitty-gritty, so this is great. You know, good time. He did a good job so far from what it seems. I've seen barely anything of this video, but I mean, so far it's like he's really hitting down the nitty-gritty, and we're like halfway through this damn video. See this? I'm going to have to jump around and explore a little bit, but I might break it into a couple of videos, but we'll see. Let's see what he has to say.
Cat? Oh, let me kill him.
No,
what does he say about RuneWords?
Macro, you're dead. That's got to be Macro. And then RuneWords have had a weird history with Diablo 4. They were announced, but they were called runes and RuneWords, but they were like prefixes and suffixes, and they were different, and they were going to be way weaker. And then the community rioted, and then they were pulled. It was like, holy shit, what just happened? What about some of those old favorites? Is the team ever talking?
I'm not going to keep annoying you guys with this, but basically, runes, I think, are a good idea. Right now, there's not much of an item chase. You know, it seems like they're even increasing the drop rate of Uber Uniques and all that. It just seems like there's nothing really like that's really far out there to strive for that you might not find it all for like the 6 months of playing or whatever. And then there's like the mid-tier stuff that's kind of lacking as well. That might take you a long time to find. You just get really lucky if you do find the damn thing. That's kind of what runes were like. It was like an endgame item chase, and you could just collect them as like almost a currency, and then of course you could build your own item with them, and then you could get items like Enigma or Infinity or Last Wish, things that would really change up the gameplay. It wouldn't just make you do higher numbers, you know what I mean? I'm just tired of all these higher numbers items, you know? The RuneWords like gave you teleport to any character. Just how cool would that be if you could make like an Enigma armor, even though teleport kind of sucks in Diablo 4? All the more reason for them to perhaps make it, because it's not going to be OP in that case. You know, just Enigma. Wouldn't that be awesome if they made that? And you had to actually bust your ass trying to find these runes or trade for them. But I mean, I think they'd be a great addition for those reasons, just to have more item chase added, which I think it kind of lacks right now. But I guess we'll see. We're going to see how Season 5 goes.
About things, are these things that we could ever see in the future?
Yeah, classic systems are always a part of the conversation because we know what was fun in those previous games, and so taking a look at those is like whenever there's brainstorming, you know, you'll see some of these things kind of pop up in conversation. The trick in those conversations is like Diablo 4 is.
Are you kidding me? Is this the Spiritborn right here? They really don't have. You'd think that this is an expansion character that they have like a little like quiver or some shit, you know, a little pocket, a little satchel or some shit. I mean, I'm kind of surprised. This is like the most basic inventory itemization setup. I'm a bit surprised. I just realized that now. I've been shielding my eyes a bit from this stuff, all right? But yeah, I expect a little bit more, but I don't care that much. I mean, I might not even play this class. I'm gonna play the druid for season 5, and maybe the sorcerer for the start. I'm not sure. I'm kind of divided between the two. I mean, necromancer. I love the necromancer, but I mean, it was just so easy. I was beating the shit out of everything. I just got kind of bored. You know, just chill. So I don't really know, but I mean, I'm thinking droid right now. Try something different, but yeah, that's odd that they just gave it a staff and that's it. But like I said, that's fine. Some of you guys speculate that they're going to give us like a paladin or an Amazon for like a later purchase downloadable class or whatever, and I guess that would be cool. But I know that's reaching a bit. You know, just to buy another character.
So if we were to take something that you saw in D2 or into D3, how do you modernize that in order to fit the channel here? So when we talk about itemization, we have a whole lot of opportunity with a lot of legacy stuff to play with. When it comes to the goblins, it's the same thing. We know that there are certain behaviors and archetypes when it comes to the monsters that are still yet to be explored. We're also inventing new stuff. You saw it earlier when we were seeing some of the boss work that was being done when we first started chatting. So
I mean, I don't need to keep repeating it, but it's nice, man. It's a breath of fresh air.
Thank you.
It genuinely feels a little different. Which, God, that's what we need, man.
What does the game?
Translation is.
I missed it. Not a good listener.
And I've worked on enough games that have been in the world of very beloved IPs.
Oh, do you have Frostburn on? Frostburn are just buff like hell in this. I saw what they did to Frostburn.
Emperor of IPs.
If you're a fire or cold class,
it's not the king and
Frostburn
queen. It is literally the emperor of IPs. Like so many people.
Potentially best in slot item right now.
So that interpretation is something that we take with great care.
It's had a ton of percentage for cold and fire damage.
It's not just going to work if you just shove it in.
For season 5.
That we're going to need to do to modernize.
So we may see some of these systems in the future, but it will never be a carbon copy of what we've seen before. Because a carbon copy wouldn't fit in the game.
Right, and the carbon copy. I mean, we could do it, but I think it wouldn't work the way that would be the best for the game.
One thing that you mentioned earlier is that the game will continue. And stop me whenever you. I got questions for days, and if I run out, chat.
There's some gorilla shit.
What's
don't really care
up,
about
man?
That. Let's go on.
How are you doing? Yeah, right there. Let's go. We have another lovely person here. Let's go back over here.
Here, let me pause it. Let me look for something. All right, I don't know what he's going to say, but let's check it out.
So, okay, can I just be honest with you?
Of course.
In the base game, everything was just black and red and brown. But you guys have color here. There's like sand and there's like green poison thing.
They went too far with the whole, this is going to be a dark atmosphere. This is going to be like Diablo 1 or something, you know? Darkness, you know, like I think they didn't see that correctly. It wasn't like the darkness and shit that intrigued us for Diablo 2. Diablo 2 had brightness, you know what I mean? There's big ass bright desert. There was a lush jungle. There was a snow region. Like, it wasn't the darkness, you know what I mean? They missed on that as well. This is unfucking believable. But I mean, it wasn't the darkness that intrigued us. It was the itemization, the item chase, the gameplay, the variety and skills you could use, the risk/reward system, you know, things like that are what intrigued us, all of which Diablo 3 pretty much lacked. But, yeah, I mean, I'm glad that they're adding some colors to it, because, you know, colors are good, right? We like to see brightness and things like that, and translucent shit, or however you say it, iridescent shit, you know, things like that. So, I mean, yeah, I haven't really seen too much of the whole jungle area, and you guys in my comments have made mention of how they've done a good job on it, so I'm looking forward to it, you know? I'm looking forward to seeing some colors, some roses and shit, some flowers, some bright flowers and shit. I mean, that sounds good, you know? The whole darkness thing, that was a miss, you know? It's not, I mean, yeah, it's going too far when you make like the rainbow level and all that and just have all the colors everywhere. That's just too much. I don't think that's really fitting, but I mean, come on. We want to see flowers and shit, you know? We want to kneel down and sniff the roses occasionally, all right?
Things here, and everywhere looks a little bit different. Like, what did you guys have to do to actually get them to, I don't know, do anything with the colors here?
You know, we just really, we focused in on, how do we make the game, just visually appealing, especially in an expansion, right? We're always trying to, figure out, where can we improve? what knobs can we turn to make things better. So every step is always kind of like dungeons, for example.
Vigor
like,
is their power.
We're going into these places in Nahatu. There's these poison vibe. There's these like maggots and blood and ooze everywhere. So instead of pushing it in the background, let's make sure it's like part of the visual language, right?
Yeah.
So we just had a lot more fun and kind of like creating a visual look of the expansion.
What was like the most challenging thing that you had to do in designing this? Like what makes it really hard to design the art for Diablo 4? What are the big challenges you have?
Well, the game camera is always an interesting, like, kind of thing to deal with. You're so far kind of above everything that everything has to read like at this kind of distance. So you have to make decisions like what's the quick visual read. You want to look at something and kind of know what it is quickly,
right?
Without having to like, I got to zoom in and understand what this is. So like silhouettes are like one of the big things we look at. We also for like characters and monsters, right? We look at silhouettes. So we want to make sure something is really noticeable at a quick glance, because you're also gonna annihilate it pretty soon after, right? They don't live very long, in the game. So
that's interesting, because I've seen a video with someone discussing how easily discernible things are on screen with Path of Exile 2, for example. And then you have this where they don't really stick out as much. Maybe that has some to do with how he was talking about the enhancement of hues and color and contrast and all that added to the game. But yeah, that's a good thing,
We want you to understand what you're running into on a character kind of standpoint. With the environment, it's kind of about like, where's your navigational space? Like what is like walkable, what isn't, and how do we make sure that that's kind of noticeable, and we make sure that that's kind of at the forefront, so it's easy for you to like understand where you're going. So like, for example, in this space, we're trying to make sure that like when you go into these kind of open spaces, it's kind of clear, but a lot of the things where we might have color are off to the side or leading you to like the next kind of transitional room. So we're kind of trying to be really like strategic about where we put color, light, and like props and interactives.
So are you in charge of the art across the entire game, like all forms of it?
And we have other directors and stuff that like help with like certain elements, but yeah.
So it's like the UI, it's the actual environments, and it's everything. Huh. So, okay, I have a question for you. It's kind of like a spoiler, but maybe you can't share this. But obviously we're in like, so the dungeons look very unique. Nahatu already looks much different than the original zones. Are all of the zones in Nahatu, are they all unique? Are they all different, like drastically different from each other, or is it all one big jungle?
The jungle is kind of the through line to everything, and it will change. Like there will be some things that kind of like the jungle will lead into some other like visual interesting areas. And so it's not all just jungle, but the jungle is kind of like that main color that takes us through everything. Right. But we do push.
Yeah, good question. Maybe they'll be like Aztecs and shit, ruins and all that, but maybe more. I don't know. Maybe there's like a desert spot. I'm hoping they're going to add like some extreme variety like that. Like how sometimes you see like the jungle kind of like cuts away and then there's like a desert and shit, like in films and all that. Maybe it'll be something like that. But what I'm wondering is, what about like the endgame dungeons? What about the nightmare dungeons? What about the pit? Both of which I like to run a lot. Are they going to have like a new sort of jungle aesthetic added to their role potentials? I'm kind of curious, and like the enemies in the jungle and all that, are they going to be added to those areas? Kind of curious.
Into different areas, and we do have different other different visual elements and locations.
Do you also do all the art for the monsters and the art for the skills? Wow, dude.
I mean, I don't do it.
Right, you and your team, right?
Yeah, the team does it, but like, look, the team is really skilled. They know what they're doing, and it's really just about direction. And sometimes the magic is just like finding a cool kind of like fantasy to like lock onto. And then you just kind of like go like, hey, this is like I was kind of saying, like, this is our compass now. We're going in this direction.
Yeah.
You know how to drive. Go take us there. And they just kind of take us there.
Wow. So I don't know, like everything here seems like I'm not at all trying to diss on the base game, but everything here seems to be a little bit higher quality, a little bit more polished.
Well, that's good. But let me know what your thoughts are on this. I'm going to cut this video. Getting a little long. But like this video if you guys will. Subscribe to the page, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace be with you.